Men's Curling Championship begins March 27th on TSN.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live on TSN's YouTube channel. Brian Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic in here. How are we feeling, Jonas?
Feel great.
Feeling great.
Yeah, what about you?
Oh, feeling great. Absolutely.
Do you know those people who you ask them how they're doing and
they get better?
But I respect the attitude where it's like every day I'm just feeling great.
Yeah, but it's such a disingenuous answer, right? Not that you want the opposite. I don't want someone to be honest with me, right? I don't want them to say, actually, do you have a minute?
Got a lot of trouble.
Do you have a minute? Because
Yeah.
I'd like to tell you some things. You know, are you a Curb fan?
Love Curb.
Love Curb. Remember when the funk man comes over and his sister's at his house, and Larry's like, well.
Isn't that Catherine O'Hara?
It is Catherine O'Hara. That's right. And the funk man's talking to him, and Larry David's like, well, is there anything you need? And he's like, yeah, actually there is. He's like, what are you talking about? It's like this. I'm not doing that. Are you nuts?
Right,
It was
that's
just a figure of
fake
speech.
request.
Complete fake
Yes.
request. And ultimately, that's what I guess people really want, right? Because no one is asking for a stop and chat. They're not really asking in too much of a deep manner. Just, how's it going? Great. Perfect. Me too. See you later. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the way kind of society works here. Anyway, good to see you. Were you down at the game last night?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, that is in the running for the most boring game I've ever been to. I don't think it was number one, but it's in the conversation.
So I was on the panel last night.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. We had a great time. You know, we made it pop and we made it work. But man, we were watching that third period. I would go a step further than you and say that was one of the least entertaining sporting events I've ever witnessed in my life. That third period,
disagree.
I don't remember one thing happening in the third period of substance.
It
Not
felt like
one
everyone
thing.
just wanted it to end.
Both sides, because the Islanders are like, we just want 2 points. We don't care.
Yeah.
This is
Ugly or not.
we
whatever.
do not care. You don't want to play. We don't need to play either. Like if everyone's just packing in and just going home, that's good by us. We've got the lead. We'll take the 2 points. No one needs to get hurt. We don't need anything brewing over here. So I don't blame the Islanders. You know, they kind of showed up to play early. They scored the 2 power play goals, and it's always cool to see Schaefer, and you got to see him live.
Yeah.
Like he comes as advertised.
Yeah.
Right? He can skate, and he's like a rover. He's all over the ice.
I got a good question to ask you about him later.
Okay. But in terms of just the intensity of the game, the pushback from the Leafs, and, you know, this is what's going to happen down the stretch.
Yeah.
They had their jolts. Gudas jolted them for, 7 or 8 periods, and they kind of came alive and pushed back and worked a little harder and were a little bit more physical and had a little bit more life in their game. And at some point, that tank was going to run out of gas. And it did last night.
No pun intended, eh?
No pun intended.
It almost feels like if you could ask everyone with the team, we could just press a button
And leave.
and it's just all ends.
I think they'd all accept
all of
it.
them.
Yes. Now, they'd have to do so anonymously,
Yes.
right? Obviously, publicly, they couldn't say that. That goes without saying. And they're not alone. Vancouver, I think, would do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think Calgary would be happy to do that. St. Louis.
It's just we haven't had that here with this team in 10 years, 11 years.
Well, and you've got
10
the
years.
Florida Panthers who are trolling the Leafs now because they're tanking. They lost in Vancouver last night. Their pick is top 10 protected, not even top 5. And you just know what's going to happen. The Panthers are going to finish 5th from the bottom. The Leafs will finish 6th from the bottom. Somehow Florida will win the lottery and pick 1st overall or 2nd or 3rd overall, and the Leafs will just miss. And that's the risk you're taking here. Now, there's no way of getting this back on the rails. They're not winning. They're not going 10-3 down the stretch and handing over the 13th overall pick. That's gone. The ship has sailed. They're done. They've completely packed it in. And I think their best players in particular. I don't want to harp on anyone in particular, but I thought William Nylander may have played the worst game I've ever seen him play last night. Like, it was horrendous, Willie.
Berube was all over him at the morning skate.
Right. Like, Willie, it looks like he's just kind of had enough. And he's not alone. He's not alone, but he's the highest paid guy.
Craig looks like he's had enough.
I think Berube is like, he probably knows the writing's on the wall, and they're just trying to get to the end. And that's human nature, and it's different for Willie. He's never been in this position before. Tavares, the same thing with this team. Berube, I think, knows the way the game is played. He knows the way it works, and he knows what is likely waiting for him in 5 or 6 weeks. So it's just, you can't analyze anything.
I know.
Like, you can't analyze, and I'm not holding this against anyone anymore because it's done. It's the white flag is up. It's over. Get out. See you later. And, reset in the summertime. But, man, it's going to be challenging still for them to get that top 5 pick.
Well, can I ask you, if you could, let's say it was just going to be the 7th overall pick, right? You could just give that to Boston, right? Would you prefer that to the unknown of 27 and 28?
Well, this is what I don't think is coming up enough in this chat.
Yes.
Because sure, you might keep the 5th overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
You might then hand over the 1st overall pick next year. Like, if you think, because if they keep this, Boston is unprotected next year,
mm-hmm.
Philly unprotected the year after.
Yes.
That is a very significant part of this whole equation. If you believe this is the tip of the iceberg of them going south, like this is just, the door is just opening to darkness, then I do actually think it's in their best interest to ideally hand over the 10th overall pick or 11th overall pick and then put yourself in a position next year where you might end up with a top 3 pick, and maybe it's a better draft. But Boston's getting their pick. They're getting their piece of flesh, and Philly's getting their pick. It's happening. It's just a matter of whether or not it's top 10 protected, top 5 protected, or unprotected.
This is one of the reasons why I wrote a story about this, so it's like fresh in my mind, why I don't think you should tear it down. And there's like a lot of layers to why I think that, but like not having control of your picks for the next 2 years is a big part of it. Like, that was the appeal of, like, they didn't intentionally get terrible 14, 15, but like they got the 4th overall pick. They got Marner. And then like they're intentionally bad in 15, 16. Oh, they get the 1st overall pick. They get Matthews. That doesn't that could happen, but it's like, it's not really in their control.
Well, the one thing I would push back on with that is there are rounds 2 through 7 where they have to start finding players.
What?
The idea that you're going to turn a whole organization around with only first-round picks.
Amazing point.
Is obviously a shortcoming that you will not be able to work with.
You need like 5 more Matthew Nyes.
Yeah, you got to find a bunch of guys in the 2nd and 3rd and 4th round. You've got to find it. You got to restock the whole thing. And if the answer is in front, if you can't change the answer, then you just have to live with the answer. And what I mean by that is, if it's just inevitable, they're just going to be bad for a couple of years, then you just have to put the past behind you. That includes the Carlo deal, the Lawton deal, because if you're trying to piece it together because you don't have 2 picks, what is it doing for you over the next 2 years? Piecing together is not winning anything. And piecing together is not going to put you in a position to win 3 years from now. So if it's concluded this can't work and they've just got to uproot the whole thing, then it sucks. But Boston's getting a good pick and Philly's getting a good pick, and you got to move on, right? Because listen, I'm not saying I'm there either,
but I think you're right.
But it could be. The answer may just be obvious, and no one wants to accept it because no one wants to go down that path because it's a challenging path. And it's not guaranteed to work, and you could end up in a dark place for a very, very long time.
The very underrated part about that.
Yes.
You could just be Buffalo.
You could just stumble.
Now, it's great now, but I think it was 14 straight years missing the playoffs.
14 straight years. That's look at Chicago.
Yes.
Chicago's been bad for like 4 or 5 years.
And feel like they're going to continue to be bad.
They're awful again this year.
Yes.
Yes, you got Bedard. Great. A couple of other good young players, but not a lot. They're not. I don't expect them to take some huge step in the next year or two. They could. So I don't know. It's a weird vibe because it does feel like change is in the air. You know, I think the coach is in a precarious position. The GM is likely in a precarious position. You know, the veteran players, they're human, and they're like, it's over. It's done. There's no getting this back together. And then you look at, the Morgan Riley fight with the McLean kid last night. I'm fine with that. Like, I know people are mocking it, and does it feel disingenuous? Sure. Is it ever going to make up for the lack of reaction to the Gudis hit? Of course not. Doesn't mean you don't do it. Doesn't mean that you don't show some life. Morgan Riley's a proud guy. I'm okay with that. I'm not mocking a fight last night. I'm not going to mock anyone that drops the gloves in the NHL. So go for it. Hopefully a couple more guys drop their gloves, and there's still some life. There's something captivating about the final 13 games of the season.
It just comes to feel like an obligation now, as opposed to like a natural response.
And it is. But it doesn't mean it's the wrong thing.
You can't not do it. Imagine
doesn't mean it's the wrong
situation, the goalie gets run, and everybody's just like, good.
You got to do it. You can't just sit there and accept, we didn't do anything, and we've been labeled, and so be it.
Are you surprised that incident has had this long an effect? Like, and I don't even think it's done. Like, it's going to last into the summer. It could last into next year. Like, has it been bigger than you would have thought it was? Because I didn't expect, like, in the moment, I was like, oh, man, this is not great. But then, like, a week later, still being talked about. And it's going to be talked about in the offseason. Like, this is going to come up in the whole whatever happens.
Yeah, I'm not surprised because of where the team is, right? I think what this did was it collectively brought out every Leaf fan, everyone that sees the game differently. They all have a gripe with this team now, right? If you're uber skill and talent and puck possession and stat, you hate this team. If you're all about toughness and grit, you hate this team. Like, it's almost
You're
like
right. It checks no box.
Everyone's in now. Yeah. Everyone's like, I don't like this. I don't like that. If you're a proponent of this style of game or that style of game, like, everyone is now included. And that's kind of what that did for, I think, a lot of people. It unearthed that. And, there's a piling on element to a season that has gone completely awry. Everyone's angry. And it's Matthews.
It's not just
Gudis.
Outside. It's them.
Right.
They are still reacting to it.
Yes, Berube's still talking about it. The players are still talking about it. It checked a lot of boxes, though. It's your captain. It's your best player. It's Radko Gudis, who is famous for trolling and being uber aggressive and screaming in the face of Joseph Woll in Game 5 a few years ago in the Florida series.
Did you know his nickname is the Butcher?
I did not know that. It's a good nickname and seems pretty appropriate.
Pretty good.
And they got to go through Anaheim again, so it's going to come alive again prior to that game. It's going to be the talking point.
Yeah.
You'll be there, so everyone knows it's coming. But I think it speaks to the fact that there's just nothing else to really point to with this team. There's cool stories. This Bo Groove story is a really cool story. He's 26. Like, I found it funny. Lawrence was interviewed by Masters, and he's calling him a kid, and
he's like
the same age,
a couple years younger than you.
Yeah, he's 26 years old. But it's a cool story. At another point last night on the Lawrence goal, and Jacob Quillen's up, and you're going to see some other kids come up and play. And
are you? Who?
I don't know. I guess I just threw that out without actually having an answer. I don't know. I don't know who else they can call up. I'm thinking at some point, is Villeneuve going to play, or other kids at the minors going to play? They're signing college kids. Do those kids show up and pull a Christian Hansen down the stretch and start playing?
Yeah, Christian Hansen.
Bozak, and obviously Bozak turned out to have a great career, but you got to try to hit on some of these college free agents. But yeah, it's tough because that was a tough game last night, and it's likely going to continue.
Can I ask you my question now?
Yes.
So I was sitting in the press box watching the game. I had Steve Simmons next to me. You know Steve.
Yep.
And I said to him, if the Islanders were to trade, hypothetical, Matthew Schaefer, how many players would they actually do it for in the NHL? And I said over or under 10.
1 for 1?
1 for 1. They say yes. There weren't 10. I think we came up with 1, 2, 3. I think we got 7.
Okay, throw them at me, and I'll tell you if I would do it.
Okay, McDavid. Yes. Don't you?
Yes, I would. I would, of course, I would. But he's 18, is what makes this so it's complicated.
It doesn't matter with McDavid.
I understand. But he's 18 years old. But yes, I would do McDavid 1 for 1.
McKinnon.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Again, he's 29 years old. He'll be 30.
Makar, yes.
Yes.
Celebrini, yes.
Yes.
Here's a good one.
Although Celebrini is a legitimate conversation. Like
you could argue he's number one trade value. He would not trade him for anybody.
Yes. Now, Schaefer, again, if you're going to make that case for Celebrini, how far back can Schaefer be, though, is my point. Because Celebrini's a year ahead of him. What if Schaefer next year has 80 points, wins the Norris, looks unbelievable? I know that's asking a lot, but that's what we're projecting here still with an 18-year-old. We're not with McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr. Like, they're established. We know who they are and what they are, and they're the best of the best. But if you're going to say Celebrini's a no-brainer, or I'm not trading Celebrini for anyone, then Schaefer can't be far behind him.
Okay, so we'll put a box around Celebrini and say maybe.
Well, I would do that because I love Celebrini, and I think I'd take a number one center over a number one defenseman. It's tight. But
yes, it's tight.
It's very, very tough because – anyway, continue, yes.
Here's an interesting one based on your age conversation. Draisaitl.
Is he 30 yet?
I think so.
29 or 30s, yeah.
He's same draft as Nylander.
Oh, man. I mean, he's the fifth or sixth best player in the world.
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think you would do it, but it's very, very close.
On the line, okay? So here's another one.
Kucherov, who's 32 or 33. I don't think
it's probably
I can.
no.
But have you seen the numbers he's put up?
Yeah.
Like, Doogie sent this stat that was posted. In the last 45 games, Nikita Kucherov has 93 points. I mean, obviously it's an arbitrary number and stat, but that is the most points in 30 years over a 45-game span, which was shocking to me. Mario Lemieux in 95-96 had 112 points over a 45-game span, which is just absurd. But I was shocked that McDavid has not had 93 points over a 45-game span. I would have figured he did that at some point.
Especially during that one big year he had.
Yeah, when he had 153 points. I mean, just recently it seemed like he had 50 points in 15 games or something like that. You're telling me he didn't get to 93, and maybe it's an ongoing clock and he can still get there.
What's the stat?
93 points in the last 45 games.
What do you think is more impressive, that or 51 and 50 for Matthews?
51 and 50.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes. Okay.
Especially in this era where we haven't seen anyone come close to 50 goals in 50 games in forever. Like in a long, long time.
All right, one more. This is the only other one. Quinn Hughes. And even then, you could be like, oh.
And Hughes, I mean, he's better than him right now, clearly.
And he's not,
better.
I think is he 26?
Yeah,
27?
he's in his mid-20s.
So I think that's yes.
It's more of a sure thing, and I think he got 10 really good years. Yeah, I think so.
Is there anyone I'm not thinking of?
No, I mean, unless you're going to throw goalies in there, which is very difficult to do. Yeah, very difficult to do.
And he's 18.
Yeah, that's how good he is. That's how promising it is.
Nuts.
How many minutes he plays, the numbers he puts up.
You win the lottery in the right year, and you're just in great shape.
Yeah.
I mean, even here.
Yes. Oh, Matthews was an unbelievable lottery winner.
Yeah.
Like, he's given them 10 great, great years. Again, we'll see which guys can win. Like, it's interesting, those first overall picks. You know, who has the killer instinct in the playoffs? A big conversation, obviously, in Toronto right now. You know, it's one thing to have talent. It's another thing to be a big game player. And until you get those opportunities, obviously we're not going to know. But Celebrini's an interesting one because we saw it at the Olympics. Like, he was great in the big games in the Olympics. I don't know if that's enough for me to define him as like a uber competitive playoff performer until he gets there and starts racking up numbers and looking the part, but he's going to get that chance possibly this year.
But the fact that he was able to like jump onto that team and not just like be like, he's playing a little bit, he's 13th forward. Like, he was on their top line, generating chances, driving play with their two best players. I don't know.
He was outstanding. Yeah. No, I'm not betting against him. Like, I'm fully expecting he just continues to be great and leads them to the playoffs at some point, if not this year, in the next couple of years, and is a dominant force when he gets there.
If you were me, would you put Schaefer on your Hart Trophy ballot?
So you only get 5 picks,
you
right?
Have 5 picks.
That's the problem. Like, it's Kucherov, McDavid, McKinnon.
I'm going to put Makar.
And so if you got Makar, then, like we were talking about this last night on the panel, is he more valuable than Ilya Sorokin on his own team? And I would argue probably not. I mean, Sorokin's numbers are outrageous. Goals saved above expected. I believe he's number one in the league. His numbers are great. He's healthy. He plays all the time.
If you went to the Islanders, though, and said you can have one or the other for the next whatever.
Schaefer's your
They're
play.
taking Schaefer.
Yep.
All the time.
But that doesn't apply to the MVP vote.
No. But
Right.
I can make up the rules. It's my ballot.
It's your ballot. I mean, who would be fifth? If it's not him, there's...
Celebrini. You could put Celebrini in.
Yeah.
On.
If they got I think if they make it, Celebrini's top 5. I'd put Celebrini over Schaefer personally.
Yeah.
But he may not make it. Who's going to win it for you?
Oh, that's a great
Like, as of now, it's clearly subject to change because we have a lot of games left, and all these guys are right there. And there's been a jockeying of position, I think, for the last 2 months.
I don't know what to do. Who do you put? Like,
I feel like
I'm
you
always
won't
McDavid.
vote for Kucherov because he's a winger and the 5-on-5 and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like you'll
He's
be anti-Kucherov.
3 points every night.
Exactly.
I'm not like immune to numbers, obviously.
Okay.
And I watch him, and it's like, oh my god,
Dude, the guy is the most electric
and
player.
there's nobody like him. I guess there's nobody like most of these guys, but
Yeah. Like, they're all, that's the thing. Like, McDavid is so unique.
yes.
But Kucherov, the way he creates open ice, what he does with that open ice, his angles, his edge work, the subtle movement with the puck, which just creates a different lane, or the deception. Like, you put an ISO cam on that guy, he is a freak of nature. He is so much fun to watch play.
I think I would still put McDavid 1.
So McKinnon would be 3 for you, which is interesting. More goals than anyone in the league.
No, I don't know.
Best player on the best team this year. Now, they're fading a little bit, and he's faded a little bit, but not much. He's still got, 110, 111 points? Like, if he ends up with 55 goals, leading the league in goals by 10 or something.
Do they still have the best record?
Yeah. Dallas is right on their heels, but they still have the best record. I don't know. This is kind of like it was a couple years ago when Matthews scored 69 and didn't even get into the top 3.
Which is insane. Still. Sorry.
I agree with you.
I can't believe that.
I agree with you.
He was
But
literally
they gave it to McKinnon.
nominated for the Selke Trophy, and he scored 69 goals. And people are like, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah. It was
These guys are a little
McKinnon,
better.
Kucherov, McDavid that were up for it.
Okay.
I hear you. I would have had Matthews in the top 3 for sure. But, yeah, it's going to be, I think the race is on. Like, it's still yet to be determined based on how they play down the stretch and what happens with their team.
Who do you think has the narrative?
Well, I said yesterday with Draisaitl's injury, I think it opens the door for the McDavid narrative. Now, they won last night. I think he had an assist, but it wasn't like he was dominant. They just, they spread the offense out last night. But if they end up winning that division, which it's right in front of them to do, and he plays great down the stretch and Draisaitl's hurt, kind of opens the door for him from a narrative perspective. McKinnon, if they end up with the top seed and he ends up scoring more goals than anyone, you can say best player, best team. But if Kucherov wins the Art Ross and puts up numbers that are absurd over like a 60-game span, I don't know. It's going to be difficult to make a call. There won't be a unanimous winner. That goes without saying.
No. It could be really competitive, like really tight.
Yeah. I really think everyone's going to see it differently. You can make a case for all of them. And again, Celebrini, if they make the playoffs, you could definitely make a case he should win it.
You could make a case he should be on the ballot even if they don't make it.
Yeah, he's been that good. All right, so the WBC has come and gone. Venezuela beat the Americans last night. How about your boy Aaron Judge? 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Does he have the worst reputation for an all-time great player?
I mean, he did have the one run, which was pretty. I mean, I guess that was last year.
Yeah.
And they didn't get
You're talking
very
about
far.
in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Well, they went to the World Series 2 years ago, but
Yeah,
that was
but he-
Juan Soto
Yes.
more than anyone, and the pitching staff. Last year, he actually had a good series against the Jays.
Yes.
Like, he did put up some numbers,
But they lost.
but they lost in the end. And not just lost, they got pumped.
It reminds me a little of Kershaw.
Yeah,
In that the
Kershaw early
Dodgers
on, you're right.
Every year.
You're right.
It's like, is he going to have like a great start?
And
What's
his
gonna
numbers were
happen?
terrible in the playoffs.
Yes. And then he won twice. I think he won twice.
Yeah, well.
Maybe 3 times.
Three
3
times. He
times.
just
now.
won. Yeah, they've won back-to-back, and he won in, what was it, 19?
20. I think it was
In 20? Yeah.
20 or 21.
Yeah, so Kershaw. Now, the most recent two, he wasn't really a prominent figure in that, but still.
But you know what we forget with this? All it takes is 1 year. You've one great. Look at Vladdy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like going into last year, I was like, is he gonna like have like a great year? And even
Yeah.
the regular season wasn't. It was fine. And then the playoffs come around. It's like, oh man.
Now everyone's like best first baseman in baseball.
Yes.
Absolutely
Clutch.
superstar clutch. But Judge has got to have it. And yes, it's a team sport. And none of the offense really showed up last night for the Americans. And the Venezuelans pitched very, very well. But 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in a big game. Judge has got to own that. And it's McDavid, Judge, and Allen. Those are the big 3 superstars that haven't won.
Okay.
But they haven't won.
Okay.
But I think McDavid and Judge are actually separate from Allen.
You got to separate McDavid. He's
Judge?
done everything he's supposed to do. What do you want him to do? You want
In
him
the
to play?
playoffs, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
And the regular season.
Yes, although so is Judge. Like
Regular season, but like McDavid's been unbelievable in the playoffs. They just haven't won.
Yes.
What do you want him to do?
No, I hear you. Now, I would argue, to push back, and I take heat on this, in the biggest games, pointless,
Okay.
right? Like the gold medal game, no points.
Yeah.
Game 7 of the Cup final 2 years ago, checked out of the game, did not play a prominent role, no points. Like you still got to finish. Like what is that worth? It's worth something, is it not?
Such like a small sample of games.
I know, but
You're not going to be
matters.
amazing every single game.
But you have to be in the biggest game. For legacy purposes, you have to, in the biggest game, that's when you've got to pop. Don't you? At some point. Like I'll give you a one-off or a couple, but once you got 3, 4, 5
so
opportunities.
let's say
just like the Leafs with the core 4, like they've had like 8, 9, 10 opportunities where none of them showed up in the biggest game.
that's different. I think that's
Why?
I don't know.
It's enough
because
sample
like
size?
let's say he's amazing in games 1 through 6. And then he doesn't have a great game 7. Are you going to be like, well, he didn't pull his weight? It's like, well, he got you there.
I hear you, but what is? I think it's got to be worth more. The game 7 though. That's the one game.
Okay.
I mean,
I see your point.
Like I understand what I'm not downplaying the greatness.
It's just
of
like the
everything
guys
that
here.
preceded that.
They didn't have all those games that he had ever.
No, it's totally apples to oranges. My point being is the big issue, and there was arguments like, well, games 1 through 4 they were pretty good, which they actually were in the first round. We talk about that with Marner all the time. Well, look at his numbers. He's got all these points. Like, okay, what did he do? Game 5, 6, and 7. Well, sure, he was terrible, but don't forget game 2. He had 4 points.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, great. That's awesome. I'm not saying don't be awesome in game 2. Mix in a pretty good game 7. How about one great game 7? Can you give us one? You know what I'm saying? You're not a game 7 guy.
I know
You're not a Super Bowl guy. Super Bowl, it's like not enough sample size to be great in a
just
Super
one
Bowl.
game. What are you going to do?
It's just one
It
game.
happens.
Whatever. You're brutal. You're brutal. I'm not going to hold that against you. All right. Well, we'll see what Dallas Braden has to say about the reputation of Aaron Judge. Some great stuff online last night about Mark DeRosa. And
Tough tournament for him.
Well, and after the game, he was like, don't worry, guys. We'll get him tomorrow. It's the best 4 out of 7. And because he's got no idea the rules of the tournament. But Venezuela ends up knocking out the U.S. last night. All right, Dallas coming up. We've got Struddy on the show just after 5 o'clock. Jonas in here. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
R.J. Decker, Tuesday on CTV. Stream next day on Crave.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel. Get to Jason Strudwick in just over half an hour. Now that the WBC is behind us, everyone scatters back to camps, and Major League season right around the corner. It's coming quick, man. It's coming quick, and Blue Jay fans are jacked for what's about to happen this year. A lot of excitement, high expectations, polar opposite of where it was this time last year. And to look back in the WBC, what went down last night, start looking ahead to the season. We're joined now by one of our favorites, former MLB pitcher, co-host of the Baseball's Dead podcast. There he is, Dallas Braden. What's up, Dallas?
Not much, boys. How we doing?
Doing great, man. How you guys licking your wounds down there or what? How we feeling about Venezuela winning last night?
Well, I mean, I'll say this. For a hockey country like the United States, as we've become, as everybody understands, for us to be able to bounce back and take it to the diamond and come up just a hair short, sure, it's probably tough to swallow, but these guys are professional. No, it's, I mean, let's be honest. Is it disappointing? 100%. 100%. And I mean that with all due respect. That's not laden with expectation. But I think it's clear to say that that's the driving force, is the expectation. Anytime this team is put together in any sort of capacity with any complexion whatsoever, you expect to win. You expect to win ball games, and you expect to be the one who's standing at the very end of it all. That was not the case. A very deserving, a very good and outstanding Venezuela team is actually the one who was left at the podium when it was all said and done. So a tip of the cap to those fellas, because they played an incredible tournament, not just one game. They executed on all fronts when necessary. Their bullpen was absolutely ridiculous all tournament long, really until the Harper homer. They had gone virtually unscathed. So I think in totality, they put together a tournament worth remembering from an offensive perspective, from a pitching perspective. They made plays defensively when they had to. We saw the big swipe of second by Javier Sanoja at the end of the game, coming in for Arias after the walk. So I mean, they did everything right when they needed to, and that's how you win championships.
Absolutely, and it is a team sport, and there's a lot of different guys on that team that are superstars, great players, winners. Yet you just knew it was going to come back to Aaron Judge in terms of the reaction one way or the other. You know, how the team played, how he performed. You know, a lot was made of his, I guess, pre-tournament speech that went viral. And last night he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. How does this kind of add to his legacy one way or the other, in your opinion? As, you know, a winner, a loser, where do you stand on Aaron Judge and his performance last night?
Well, when you're the captain of one of the most storied sports franchises, period, in North America, in the world, frankly, there's going to be a microscope that you find yourself under that is hotter and more magnified than a lot of others. So his successes, his failures are amplified to the nth degree. And the WBC, albeit in March, is no different than the big stage when he finds himself there in October. And I think some of those, what I'll call lack of successes, others will deem them failures, have been highlighted. And I'm not going to say it's not deserved, some of the criticism, because the numbers would bear that out. But I think that's just part of the role that he has taken on. That's part of the role. That's what comes along with having that status, that C on your chest, whether it's for your major league team or for the country that you're representing at the time, in this case, the WBC. Would you have liked to have seen more offense from him? No doubt. I think that very same thing can be said for everybody else that was in the lineup on that entire team. And I know there's some question marks about roster construction, or should I say lineup construction. And one thing I do want to say, outside of some of the comments that were made earlier by Mark DeRosa, was being Mark DeRosa, having to go into a situation where you're managing a roster that comes with restrictions and that comes with stern requests, almost / demands, if you will. That's not easy. That is not an easy place to be. It's not an easy position to manage from. And that's not something that I think a guy like him is ever going to come out and publicly say and use as a crutch as to why things end up the way they do. So I think in one hand, you are justified in asking some questions and wondering if what the hypotheticals would look like. On the other hand, I think you have to step back just a bit and realize that that is just not an easy perspective to have to manage from, especially when you don't want to publicly use it as I said, as a crutch.
Well, do you think, is there another time that they could hold this where you could actually have full lineups and full bullpens and everything, full starters? Or is that just not an option?
Jonas, I don't think it really is an option, man. As much as we all want to get excited about what the prospects look like of being able to start this thing in the middle of the season, I just don't know that you're going to get enough people on board with that. I think logistically that would be a nightmare, frankly. And I think, if there was the idea of pushing spring training back or pushing the start of the season back in a WBC year, well, then maybe, because that might give players an opportunity to ramp themselves up. So we're at a point now at the end of spring training where we sit today with an opportunity for these guys. The next couple turns these starters are going to make are going to be getting near and then leaving camp at full capacity, meaning they're ready to hit that 85 to 100 pitch mark when they take the ball in the regular season, when all of these pitches really start to count. So if you wanted to give them an extra week or 10 days or whatever it may be to ramp up and be an option so that this can happen in the WBC, then I think that might be something that you can look at. And I'd want to believe that everybody involved could be on board to get this thing started just a bit earlier, understanding what sort of momentum this tournament generates for the sport globally. We're not talking about folks in Idaho getting really excited about it for the first time in a while. We're talking about folks all over this entire rock that we live on being super pumped up about the sport of baseball and the energy that surrounds this entire tournament.
We're chatting with Dallas Braden, longtime MLB or Baseball is Dead podcast co-host. And I'm looking at, what's going on in the spring now, because the WBC is obviously beyond us, and we're really chugging towards opening day here. And I saw that Garrett Cole made his spring debut today. And, if he's going to return, he's going to be likely, if he gets back to where he was throughout his prime, that's a huge boost for the Yankees. And I've seen a lot of people, everyone's kind of mocking up how they see the AL East, finishing. And it's generally, I see the Jays or the Yankees at the top, maybe the Sox. The Orioles obviously added a lot of power over the offseason. If Cole returns to 100%, which we expect he will, and he's dialing, they got a really good staff in New York. Do you think the Yankees are the favorite, in your opinion, of the AL East? Do you still have the Blue Jays? Like, where do you stand on things as we're about 2 weeks out?
I think it's tough. I've always had a tough time dethroning a team who has had the success, especially as recently as the Toronto Blue Jays have experienced. I think we can all understand that a lot of their success didn't necessarily hinge on one player specifically. It was a total team effort, as we say in baseball. But there was a player by the name of George Springer who I think had a lot to do with their success. Now, can you expect a similar season from here? Or from him this season? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily fair to put that on him. But I also think that there's some other players on that roster that, should they emerge or should they return to the level of expectation that I think came along with them initially, you might have, I think you might have a better feeling in placing them just above where the Yankees are. I think we saw some breakout performances last year. I mean, you're talking about a guy in Ernie Clement who really hit the big stage and lit it up. There's a lot to be excited about when it comes to Addison Barger. I think, for my money, the Toronto Blue Jays are still at the top of that list. I don't know that there's a chasm between them and the Yankees, but I do believe that it's a little tighter than maybe some folks give credit to.
I wondered about Bo Bichette and the impact that has on a clubhouse when someone who's like so significant on the team is just gone. How do you think like that will reverberate into this year? Like, does it have an impact on the guys you're just talking about, where they're like, you know what, I got a little more opportunity here? How do you think that the Bichette departure impacts the Jays this year?
Well, there's no denying that production is not something that you just replace overnight. And I think that's why I mentioned needing other individuals to step up and carry that workload. I mean, let's not forget about what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. represents in the middle of that lineup. And I think if you can sort of lean on him and they can find a way, I don't know if galvanize is the right word, but I think if they can find a way to quickly move past the idea that Bo Bichette is not walking through that clubhouse door at any point in time. You can't be searching for help. You can't find yourself in a position early on looking around wondering where it's going to come from. That's what this spring should have been about, was identifying how we are going to piece this together, how we are going to move on with the absence of Bo Bichette. And that's where I think guys like an Ernie Clement, I like an Alejandro Kirk, who continues to round out into a wonderful player, especially behind the dish. I think you just need those types of individuals of our show. You need these types of individuals to continue to step up, to continue to deliver. And that's what allows you to move past. I'm not going to say forget, because I know there's a lot of questions on whether or not this is a one and done for Bo. Right? We'll see in 2026. Don't know how long we're playing in 2027. If we're playing in 2027, is there an opportunity for the Blue Jays to open up the checkbook once again and bring him back to the six, where I think a lot of folks would have loved to, including some steakhouses, see him remain for the rest of his career.
Absolutely.
Spicy.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, listen, he's making $43 million with the Mets this year. Like, I don't blame him for taking that money. And you mentioned a couple of guys who I think they want to give the opportunity to, and protecting Vladdy in the lineup, that's going to be a big conversation. Like that was a big turning point for John Schneider last year. He moved Bichette into the cleanup role, and he mashed, and he was incredibly clutch throughout the season, and he was there protecting Vladdy. I don't know who plays that role this year.
Well, the guy that we would have thought Santander is just
gone. Well, exactly. Santander is not a part of the program. He's not likely to play. Barger, I'm all in on Addison Barger, but he's only likely going to be in the lineup against righties. Like, we'll see what happens on that front.
The Santander thing was honestly a dagger for me, because the narrative that I've kind of been addressing is, will George Springer be able to follow up what we saw? And to the point of needing some guys to step up or fulfill expectation, Santander is the individual that fits that narrative, that fits that bill. What could we get from him? A guy who was essentially part of the witness protection program last year is still somewhere in a neighborhood, comfy mowing his lawn, and nobody knows who he is, right? He's not a part of it. And so that was going to be something that I think really could have helped bolster. I do want to say this. We're going to talk about Trey Savage for a long time, I think, because that is an electric addition to the rotation, and seeing what he looks like over the course of a full season. Now, am I telling you that we're going to get 200 innings from you, Sep? No, I'm not telling you that. But I'm telling you that having a guy of his caliber paired with a guy like Gossman, paired with a guy who I think I'm really excited about in Ponce, like there's some intriguing pieces to this puzzle, right? You've got Cease. I think that was done fairly quickly, right? I mean, that was taken care of in December. So I think, and then obviously you factor in Max, and whatever you're going to get from Max at this point, no doubt there's going to be competitiveness behind it. How productive and for how long, and what kind of stretches? Because I think it'll be fair if we see Max take a breather, if you will, at some point in time during the season. But I think the pitching staff is in a position to be able to help this offense as it tries to identify who they are.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the plan is. He is Dallas Braden, former MLB pitcher. Baseball is Dead podcast. Great catching up with you, Dallas, as always. Appreciate you doing this, man. We'll do it again soon.
No problem, boys. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
There he is, Dallas Braden. And we got some Jose Barrios news today as well. He's been diagnosed with a stress fracture in his right elbow. But Schneider, I guess, said that he's pain-free, and they hope he's going to resume throwing soon, but he's not going to be ready for opening day. So Barrios not available. Bieber not available to start the season. Savage is going to be on a pretty limited pitch count.
That's why you sign as many guys as you can.
Yeah. So it'll be Gausman, Cease, and Cody Ponce. I think 1, 2, 3 they're going to unleash. And I think Scherzer will be a part of the five-man rotation, clearly. And then you Savage piggybacking with Eric Lauer or something like that. And listen, people continue to point this out, understandably so. They've got a really soft schedule to start the year. But that means you gotta hit the ground running.
That sounds familiar. It sounds like we talked about that
exactly.
last fall.
You cannot just look at the schedule and say that's a win, that's a win, that's a win.
Yeah.
It's Oakland, it's Chicago, it's Colorado. The
Oakland's
Dodgers
good.
are in town though pretty early in the season. But,
I wonder if the fact that they didn't have Bichette down the stretch and just kind of figured out how to get by without him is actually like such a leg up going into this, where it's like you've kind of figured out how to structure your lineup not having him. And it's like they didn't have Santander either. But it's just like, can all those things that happened last year, Springer, Barger, Clement, all those things repeat?
yeah, Nathan Lucas had a breakout
Great
year.
one. Your number 2 guy. Like, can all that stuff happen again? I don't know.
That's why you restart, and it's difficult to project. The last 2 seasons for the Blue Jays are the best example of that. You can sit here and say, and it's all educated guessing, and it's not that it's just throwing darts at a dartboard. You're doing it based on what you have in front of you. I like this player. I like this lineup. I like the cohesiveness. I like the manager. I like the GM. You can like a lot of different things about any club. But 162 games is a real grind, man, and there's a lot of curveballs thrown your way. And how you react to them, how healthy you stay, right? And you can't control what the other teams are doing, too. Baltimore might take a huge step this year. Maybe the Red Sox get hitting that no one expected, and all of a sudden they're great. The Yankees are always going to be a competitive team. Jays dominated the Yankees last year. What if that flips? Then all of a sudden you're in a very different position. So that's the beauty of it, man. You got to play the games. All right, Jason Strudwick coming up in about 15 minutes. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Strutty coming up. We'll get into this Jack Hughes gold medal winning puck and the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame responding to it. We'll touch on that in about 10 minutes. The Habs winning in overtime. That screamed 3-point game. Montreal and Boston. Both sides happy to get to overtime. Let's both get points. Cole Caulfield, 40 goals. 40 snipes. Like, he's up there as one of the best goal scorers in the league. I think McKinnon's at number 1, and I think Caulfield's number 2 in goals scored in the league right now.
If I gave you 2.5 40-goal seasons for Caulfield in his career.
Over.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Because he's a natural goal scorer. He has been. That's why he got drafted where he did. He's not a big guy, as you know, but like, he's just got a nose for the net. He could shoot.
Yeah.
Like, he can snap pucks. And he plays a ton. He's on the top line. The power play kind of goes through him. Like, he's a stud. Caulfield is a stud. The Habs are so fun to watch play.
Yes.
Like, that's they're in the position they're in because they just score goals.
And if you were ranking like the most fun players to watch in the league, I think they have 2 or 3 of the top 25. Like, Demidov's in there.
Hudson is definitely in there.
He might be in my top 10.
Hudson is definitely in there. Yeah. I mean, Demidov, like you said, Hudson, Caulfield, like they've just got a lot of star power there.
Yeah.
Like, and they are set up for the future. They've got a lot of kids coming too. They got 2 or 3 prospects in the top, like 20 in the league, 25 in the league. They got their picks.
Starting to feel envious, aren't you?
Pretty good place to be.
Yeah.
It's a very good place to be. Hour 2 coming up. Mini Jarry's at 5:30. Strutty will join us as well. Overdrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Disney Plus, and Crave. Together starting at $15.75 a month.
Now we're just about the bunker. Friends think I'm crazy.
You're not going to tell anyone about this, are you?
And so it begins.
The Disney Plus Crave bundle. Plan starting at $15.75 a month.
Team Dunstone represents Canada against the world's best. The LGT World Men's Curling Championship on TSN.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Brian Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, a little mini Jarry's later in the hour. Jason Strudwick coming up. So Jack Hughes, scored the biggest goal of his life last month and gold medal winning game, and it's going to be one of the more famous goals of all time. Like, that game will be played and revered forever, and especially in American hockey history. And after he scored, he celebrated, clearly, and I'm sure he didn't put a second's thought into the puck. Because why would you? When you score, you go nuts, you go crazy. They're on the blue line, they're getting their gold medals, they're partying. Well, I guess someone grabbed that puck, very savvy. Someone grabbed it and sent it to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And now Jack Hughes, I think he was speaking with Greg Wyshynski of ESPN, is complaining because he wants the puck. Does he have a gripe here?
First off, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I don't know if I care that much. I kind of see both sides. The Hall of Fame is basically saying it's like it's ours. It's not his to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the IHF sent it to them.
Yes, they gifted it to the Hockey Hall of Fame.
And it's like, yes, he scored it, but it's like it's a team sport. It's not like it's tennis. But I could also see, like, I think Jack Hughes said he wants his dad to have it, which I'm like, that's kind of nice. But it's the team's goal, not your goal.
Yeah. I don't think he's got a leg to stand on. I think,
he's not
sure
getting
you want it. You're not getting it, nor should you get it. You scored the goal. Good for you. You don't own the puck. It was the game's puck.
If he grabbed it and
exactly,
just, like, put
it's
it in his pocket,
That's totally different.
Yeah.
He goes and grabs that puck. It's his puck. You can do whatever you want with it. You did not do that. Right? It's like a home run ball. It gets into the stands. If you want it, maybe you can pay for it. Maybe the Hall of Fame would say, it's up for auction. Now, I don't think they would, clearly, because that's not right. Right? Like, it wasn't originally their puck. It's in the Hall of Fame because it's going to commemorate the moment. That's where it belongs. But, why would – I'm sure Hellebuck would love the puck. I bet you Austin Matthews would, Mike Sullivan, Bill Guerin. A lot of Americans, I'm sure, would love that puck. I like that the Hall of Fame said, absolutely not. We're keeping this thing. You want to come see it, come on in, come to town whenever you want. Come check it out. Like, I really appreciate that Philip Pritchard is on the record saying, not his puck. We've got it. It's our puck, and we're keeping that puck. And I love that attitude.
I think it's a great idea. You can come.
Yeah, come on by. Free admission. Free admission whenever you want. Bring your dad with you.
You can pay.
Yeah, bring whoever you want. Bring Quinn. Bring Luke. Bring the whole Hughes crew.
Is the Crosby golden goal there?
It's absolutely there. And what I love is that Sid's reaction, and I haven't seen it or heard it, I've just read it, but it's basically my interpretation. This is not him. My interpretation is he's looking at Jack Hughes like, shut up, you're such a loser for complaining about this.
He would never do that.
Exactly. He said, I'd never even thought about it. And I never even thought about it from that angle. I was so happy the puck's in the Hall of Fame. I'm paraphrasing. But basically, he's like, yeah, of course. Should be in the Hall of Fame. One of the great goals of all time. Hall of Fame. History. That's how you react to him. Sid's Sid. Sid's been there, done that. This is just an example of Jack Hughes. He's never been there, never done that, never had a big moment in his career. Yeah. He wants to own the puck. Okay. Ask for it. You got denied.
What if they just
Do I feel a little bit petty because I'm Canadian and I'm happy? And if the Hall of Fame was in, like, New York, I'd be like, this is ridiculous. Give him the puck. I love that it's in Toronto.
What if
I think that's a part of why he's pissed off.
Send him a puck and said, this is the puck, but it's not really the puck.
A fake puck.
And then kept the real puck.
Nah, I don't think that would fly. But he could get a replica made. Yeah. Get a replica made. But, I don't know how actually angered he is in all of this. Like, I'm sure he wants the puck. I don't think he's losing sleep over it. But the idea of clouding the moment at all.
The whole post-win has
shut
not
up.
gone great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just shut. It's not like the ref grabbed it. You know what I mean?
That would be a play.
Yeah, some ref grabbed it, and it's in his basement in Perry Sound or something. It's in the Hall of Fame. Like, how lucky are you to have an artifact that's there because of what you did?
Yeah, and everyone who goes
honor.
will see that you scored the big
for the
goal.
rest of time. Jack Hughes, and I'm sure I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's like a real, pretty incredible, like popping exhibit for Jack Hughes, as it should be.
Yeah,
an incredible moment in hockey history, and he's supplied it. But I'm sure he's got his stick, right? Does he get a stick? He probably keeps his helmet, gloves, all the equipment. There's a lot of things you can keep. He's probably lucky Binnington didn't grab that thing and rifle it into the crowd, right? Like, that was definitely a possibility based on the way Binnington's reacted to giving up goals in the past.
Wasn't there a situation where someone was it Binnington?
There was one where, yes, Binnington did it. Was it Ovechkin's I think it was Ovechkin's goal, maybe, where did he break the Gretzky's record or hit 900 or something like that? He did it recently, and he put it in his pants, and then he ended up giving it to them. But there was a scenario like that. Chris Pronger grabbed the puck when Patrick Kane, I think, scored the Cup winner in 2009. But Pronger gave it back. Well, that might be in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if
Why
Kane
did he
owns it or
grab
not.
it?
Just because he's Chris Pronger. He's like, I'm taking this thing. I think he literally grabbed it, and he's like, I'm taking it. Because he knew the Blackhawks were going to come chasing it.
I love that.
So he was so, like, in the moment, he's like, I'm taking this thing. But I'm pretty sure he gave it back. All right, here's Jason Strudwick joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. What's up, Struddy?
No, well, quite a bit, actually, if you're an Oilers fan. They're missing one of the best three players in the world.
Oh, best three.
Whoa.
Best three. So that means one of Kucherov or McKinnon are not in the top three. Which one is not in the top three, in your opinion?
Wow, that's a tough sell. Top four, then I'll say top four.
I love that, because then it could be anywhere between, you may still have them at 2 or 3, but top 4 counts. Yeah, and they're being somewhat vague about the injury and the timeline. I saw that Knobloch said they'd reevaluate after the regular season, and Bowman was speaking today and said believes he'll be okay for the playoffs, but I guess they can't guarantee it that Draisaitl will return. That has got to lead to a fair amount of anxiety in the market.
Well, it does, and listen, the Oilers aren't in a secure playoff spot, but I do think they're going to make the playoffs even without the big guy. But to get to the conference final against one of those monsters, they've got to beat two pretty good teams. Not none of those specific teams are playing great, but they're pretty good, and I'm sure some will get better in their gameplay. So they need them. So today Stan Bowman said he was optimistic that Leon would be available for the playoffs. So you take him for what that's worth. That's about 4 weeks. So is it a knee sprain or something like that? I have no idea, but I'm thinking his lower body might be a knee sprain, and I had those. It was about 4 to 6 weeks, and it's the playoffs, so maybe you get back a little bit early. So in the meantime, other guys are going to get opportunities, and they're going to try to. They had a pretty good game the other night against San Jose. They got Florida coming up, Tampa. They got some decent teams to play here, but they need points. They need to. They'd love to get or stay at the top of the Pacific Division.
What is the plan for Tristan Jarry the rest of the season?
Well, Chris Knobloch spoke maybe 6 days ago, and I have not heard him publicly talk about a goaltending situation like this. Stu Skinner has been his goalie for most of the time before he's being traded. There was a lot of conversation. He was always very protective of Stuart Skinner, not really being too harsh on him. And this time he said Tristan Jarry is not the starter. Ingram's the starter, and we're going to try to find him some starts. Like, it was very clear. So it looks like Connor Ingram's going to be playing most of the games in the next little while. And here's an opportunity for Tristan Jarry to kind of find his game and maybe just take a deep breath and reset himself, because the Oilers are going to need him. They're going to need this guy. But it hasn't gone well. And it's, playing in front of the Oilers or behind the Oilers is different. They are getting better at their defensive structure, but there can be high risk. And, when they're playing like that, it's a lot of off-man rushes, a lot of slot shots. But, like I'd say, the last 4 or 5 games have been a lot better at that. So maybe that will help a goalie. But I think there's some saves that Tristan has to make. And a reset with his goalie coach, a lot of quiet time with together, that might find him, because they will need him. They need this goalie. And I'm not even looking ahead to next year. I'm talking about what they hope will be another playoff push this year.
All right, Struddy, let me put you on the spot. You can answer first, Jonas. You can chime in. If I give you these two options for a playoff run, the goaltending department in Edmonton with the Oilers or the goaltending department in Montreal with the Canadiens, which one would you choose?
I know my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought you were going first, Jonas.
Yeah, go ahead, Jonas.
I think I'd take Montreal.
Really?
It just seems less volatile. I know that there's not like a clear who is it, but I feel better about the option.
You feel better?
Slightly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Struddy?
Yeah, I'll go Ingram. I'll go Oilers and Ingram. This is why. I think that he has really quieted the noise around the goaltending situation here when he's played. He gave up 3 goals the other night against San Jose, and he played a good game. But he's very calm. He's very quiet. When you see him interviewed, well, what do you think about this play by them? I'm just here to stop pucks. Like, he's just very calm. And I think that he is the guy, to me, of all the goalies of this group you've talked about, is probably closest to the best part of his game. And he was a good goalie when he was down in Arizona. Stepped away from the game for a little bit to kind of get some things sorted out in his life. And now he's back, and it feels like a good story right here, right now, for Ingram and the Oilers.
Yeah, the Fowler kid is very enticing.
That's the one
to
that
me.
Was in the back of my mind.
That's asking a lot out of a young player.
This is a stretch, total stretch, but like it just like Savage like popped into my mind. It's like maybe if he
How
gets
about
a
Ken
chance.
Dryden or Patty Waugh or something like that?
Okay.
I mean, listen, Dobish. The numbers aren't great, but Dobish wins. He's like a Jack Morris type.
I'm looking at 22, 7, and 4.
Yeah, his number. Like I think he had a sub-9 save percentage last time I checked.
8.92.
But he wins. So I don't know. I guess the answer is I don't like really either of them, and that's what makes me feel a little bit reluctant to visualize some like great long playoff run. Struddy, like that's the issue I have with Edmonton and with Montreal. Like both great stories. Both like Montreal is a resilient bunch, and they score. Their offense is loaded. They're puck moving defensemen. They might have the best puck moving top 4 in the league or close to it.
Yeah.
But if it's Dobish in net and Ingram in net in Edmonton, I don't know. That scares me for both parties.
Well, listen, like the Canadiens, I think they're going to be a force for a number of years now. My concern for them are some of their key players and how it looks like when things get really hard in the playoffs, right? Some of the size-wise, what does that look like for Hudson or Cole Caulfield when you have Tkachuk or Barkov or Seth Jones leaning on you for 7 games? We'll see. We'll see when that time comes. On this side, though, with the Edmonton Oilers, the Pacific Division, teams have played well and teams have played bad over the course of their year so far. I mean, Vegas, is that a great, successful goalie setup there? I'm not
right.
sure they are right now. The Ducks have been up and down. The Ducks have a lot of talent. They play pretty freewheeling at times. So how does that affect their goaltending? Seattle, I don't know that they have a superstar there. Maybe there's one that if Jonas really squints, he can see one.
Bobby McMahon.
Bobby McMahon. Another snipe last night for Bobby.
Right?
On fire.
The legend of Bobby McMahon.
Yeah.
So, listen, I think the Pacific Division is pretty wide open. We can make a case for any team to get through there, but I don't think any team is perfect. So if you find your game, I think there's an opportunity for a team to get to the conference final and take on a team that maybe played for sure 1 and maybe 2 absolute studs in the NHL in the first 2 rounds.
With Jason Strudwick, we mentioned this Kucherov stat last hour. Over the last 45 games, he has 93 points. 93 points in 45 games. That is the most points in a 45-game span since Mario Lemieux in 95-96. Now, Lemieux had 112 points in those 45 games, which is absolutely absurd. But I was surprised McDavid hasn't done that in a 45-game span. I would have figured that was a lock. And it's a completely arbitrary number. McDavid might say, well, I have all these points in a 30-game span or a 35-game span or whatever. But Jonas is a Hart Trophy voter.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out what this is going to look like over the final 12 to 14 games. Where do you stand as of today, Strud? Kucherov, McDavid, McKinnon, Celebrini, and what is the likelihood that Kucherov can possibly win the Hart, in your opinion?
Well, it's a lot of responsibility for our friend Jonas.
Yes,
this
it
is a tough one. I think, if you look back in recent years, this feels like one of the harder ones to call for a bunch of different reasons. Now, I guess if I'm trying to look at it, I do think Celebrini has a real chance of writing an incredible story. If his team gets to the finals, and I know we've shared this before, guys, but they have so many points ahead of his partner, Will Smith. Mm-hmm. It's incredible what he's done. And there's a precedent in Taylor Hall and what he did with his group in New Jersey.
Yep.
So I think if he makes it, I would be leaning that way. What Kucherov, McDavid, and McKinnon have done is incredible. They have better supporting cast than what he has. So not to put pressure on you, Jonas, but that is how I would lean now. Of course, they have to make the playoffs.
I'm really disappointed in you. I got to be honest.
Listen, Celebrini, man, it's how do you argue against that case he just made? It's the same one I've made before.
He's in Edmonton.
Yeah. So what are you saying? That he should just automatically say McDavid?
He has 115 points.
Struddy's an objective man.
He's the best player in the league. There's just no question.
But that's not the MVP.
Their team has gotten worse from last year, and he continues to be amazing. And if they didn't have him doing this, where are
Draisaitl's what, 4th in the league in points?
Yeah, but you could do that and now you're going to say
with Celebrini.
That was Celebrini.
You cannot do it with Celebrini.
I know that.
Can't do it with Kucherov.
You're right. Well, they have some pretty good players.
They don't have anyone that's in the top 5 in points.
Okay.
And McDavid has so many more power play points than all these guys.
Because he's amazing on the power play.
He doesn't I thought you were a 5-on-5 guy.
I am.
My mistake.
Kucherov is also amazing on the power play.
Yes, he is.
Some guys are just did you see that play he created last night? It's
phenomenal.
Nobody can do that.
McDavid has 47 power play points.
Because he's awesome on the power play.
Right.
I just think I think we're going to look back. I worry, Struddy, that we're going to look back and be like, McDavid had 3 Hart trophies? Really?
Yeah. How many do you think Sid had in his career?
I think he has 2.
Exactly.
But
should we look back on him differently?
No, but it doesn't make sense to me. McDavid hasn't won. I'm just looking. He hasn't won a Hart Trophy since 22-23.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me he's not going to if he's not going to win it this year, when he's leading the league in scoring for a team that's gotten worse from last year, he's clearly the best player. I think we all agree on that. What are we doing?
Well,
I don't know. I know these guys.
I hear you, but a couple of years ago, a couple of years ago, he didn't win it. Matthews had 69 goals. He wasn't even nominated.
I know. Well, that's
only one guy can win it.
Screwed that up royally. I don't know.
There's an interesting story we could write though right now is with Leon clearly out for the rest of the regular season.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say the Oilers, what do they have? 13 games left. Let's say they go 8-5 or 9 whatever the math is, 9-4. I think it's 13 games they have left, and he piles up a ton more points. Maybe that's a separator, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a separator. So it's going to be tough. I think for me again, if Celebrini makes the playoffs, it's Celebrini McDavid. Then you got to split hairs between the other two, the guy who's leading the league in goals, and then Kucherov. And I think that's where it gets pretty tricky to figure out who your top 3 are.
Yeah, I mean, Hellebuck won it last year. Should he not have won it?
No, I had him 5th.
Really?
I think.
That's absurd.
It's not.
He's absurd.
And it looks great now, doesn't it?
But it doesn't matter what happens this year, Jonas.
I can't.
In the moment, the guy was the most valuable player last year.
That's your opinion.
Okay.
And the opinion of all the voters.
I'm not a voter.
Yeah.
With Jason Strudwick, how about Columbus dummying Carolina last night? Buffalo beats Vegas. They go into Vegas and beat them 2-0. Feels like Columbus is the new Buffalo, but do they have enough time, Strud? Do they have enough time to get in and make some noise? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I want to talk about Carolina for a second. I love the way they play. The problem is if we had to pick 3 teams, let's say Minnesota, Edmonton, Vegas, or I guess a big 4 teams, and then Carolina. Of those 4, which has less room to elevate their game? Who would you pick? Mine's Carolina.
Yeah, I think
they play so hard.
Play to their
They're
top,
so good.
Yeah.
So how are they getting, where do they elevate? How are they getting better? What more juice can they squeeze out of that group? And Rod is such a good coach and gets them going, and maybe they overachieve in the regular season? I don't know. But without a legit superstar, how do they elevate? That's my fear for Carolina. I know that wasn't your question. But for Columbus, all you can do is just keep plugging away. What choice do you have, right? Rick Bowness has gone in there, and I mean, does he get consideration for Coach of the Year?
Do you have a vote, Jonas?
We don't get to vote on that. I was going to ask you guys about that. I think the Coach of the Year is like impossible this year.
Every year it's tough. Every single year it's complicated.
But like you could go like Dan Muse, you could go Marco Sturm. You like who? I don't know who you pick.
Yeah. It's so hard. But Rick Bowness, how many games is he going to coach? Is he? I forget. Was it half the year?
It's not going to.
Yeah, it was December. He came.
No,
in
it was January.
Yeah. Was it January?
Yeah.
So
it's like mid
40 games.
Too, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you give? Can you give it to him? I guess you can. But I mean, that's a tough one to handicap too, right? But I don't know. I mean, there's some pretty good races going on, but I don't know. There's a lot of turnover in the playoff teams, which is, I guess, good if you're fans of those teams, bad if you like the incumbents.
That's the beauty of it. Like, there's some races, man. Like, Columbus is right there on the heels of Boston and Detroit and even Montreal and the Islanders and, same thing out west. And, there's a lot of races. It does feel like Makar, who I believe is favored to win the Norris on FanDuel right now, but how does Werenski not get a possible first overall vote in that category? I think he plays more than anyone else in the league, like 26-plus minutes a night. And that's their superstar.
Who leads in points on D? I haven't checked.
Yeah, Evan Bouchard. Bouchard's, he might end up with 90-plus points, maybe 100.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Is there a chance he gets it, you guys?
No. He's not going to. Well, here's Noodles and I.
100 points?
Noodles and I were talking about this last night, which means it was smart dialogue when Noodles and I were putting our brains together. But remember when Erik Karlsson in San Jose, he won it because he hit 100 points. San Jose didn't even make the playoffs that year. They were terrible. It was just like, all right, what if Bouchard, I don't think he'll get to 100 points, but what if he does? If he hits 100 points, does he win the Norris?
He would not get my vote.
Would he be top 3 for you?
I don't know. I don't think I had Karlsson. I think I had Karlsson like 3rd or 4th or 5th maybe.
So who would you have? You'd have Makar. Werenski,
Hughes.
Schaefer ahead of Bouchard?
Schaefer's in there.
Would you have Schaefer ahead of Bouchard?
Yes.
Ooh, Strutty.
Oh my!
You could put Schaefer. Right? You could put Schaefer on your Hart Trophy ballot. Like, look what's happened there.
Yeah, what he's done to that team is incredible. The energy he's brought, I think he's energized a lot of those players, including the big guy, Matty Barzal. Or the little guy, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to not have a guy who's getting that many points in Evan Bouchard, and then, listen, there is a bias towards his defensive play, and I agree. Early in the year he was there. But I don't think he's those lapses aren't like what we've seen in early in the year. He's found his game, and he's defending and playing and scoring goals and making points. And I think he has the most primary assists from D-men, doesn't he? I mean, isn't that what D-men are supposed to do? Pass off the puck to the forwards?
Yeah.
Now, it's nice to pass to 97 and 29, but he's not always passing those guys. So I think that matters. So I think there's a bit of a bias there.
Well, he's got 78 points. He's one away from 20 goals. And JP just said, actually, on FanDuel, Werenski is the favorite to win the Norris.
Wow.
Which I appreciate that. You've got
He's a great player.
Lane Hudson's got 69 points. Werenski 69, Makar 68. Like, what's crazy is Lane Hudson's right there, too. He's going to end up possibly with 80 points on a year. But, Bouchard, 78 points. It's probably unlikely. 22 points in 12 games or whatever. It's unlikely he hits 100. But if he gets to 90-plus, man, you don't see that very often in the NHL from a defenseman. Yeah, he's going to get some
I
love.
have to go into the lab and, do some analysis. It's a process.
Okay.
Well, shoot me a text. Let me know if I'm way up front. He should at least be in the top 3 finalists. Listen, I'm not when I'm lifting or trying to push Bouchard on you guys, it's not that I'm pushing down Werenski. He's much-watched TV for me. Schaefer, I love the way he plays. We know Makar, all these guys, but I think there's a bit of a bias there because of some of the narrative out there. How
East Coast bias?
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right, though. Bouchard.
I don't think, not East Coast, just general. I think just general defense bias.
You know what doesn't help him, Strud? He didn't make the Olympic team.
Yeah, fair point.
So,
and they lost.
The hockey community has the bias. You know what I'm saying? Like Doug Armstrong and John Cooper, I don't want that guy, which is pretty wild.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I didn't. But, you look at some of his plays, but, you look at the last couple of years in the playoffs, he's been an absolute stud. Now, that doesn't come into the voting this year. I understand that. But, you can only see what I'm seeing in front of him right now. And he's other
been
than
really good.
First part of the season. So, yeah.
Well, do you think he's a lock to make the World Cup in 2 years? Like, will they rectify that problem, or what's going to change in his game that has Hockey Canada
More just
believing in Evan Bouchard?
Age, I would think, for some of the other guys, right?
Yeah.
Like Parayko's not making it.
Doughty,
Yeah.
Parayko's out.
Parayko's out.
Shea Theodore still in there? Shea Theodore?
No,
Probably
he's
not.
out. Sanheim maybe is out.
Hartley's around.
Harley will play.
Yeah, Harley.
Even Taves. Taves like 31 or 32.
Yeah, McCarr.
But Schaefer's going to play. Anyway.
Yeah, Schaefer's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Struddy.
And some of those kids coming from my D-men camp will probably be filling those up too. So.
Straight from Yellowknife right into the Hockey Canada program.
I don't want to say who right now, but they're coming. It's going to be a tsunami out of the Strudwick D-men camp.
That's why the Leafs are tanking, because you've got that engine cooking out there, and it's that the Leafs, they've been waiting for that number one defenseman for a long time.
Forever.
The Leafs are tanking to coincide with that. Yes. You might be the president of hockey ops here.
Well, there's a chance just because of my camp. Sorry, that's all I do. I'm too busy to run that than to run the president of the Leafs.
Strud, if they offered you the job, would you take it?
Oh, God. I don't think I would. I don't love meetings. I feel like there's a lot of meetings involved in that. So I don't think I would. I mean, I thank them for the offer. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I love the colors. And but I don't like to wear suits, and I don't love meetings. I don't think that
turning down
the profile.
The president of hockey operations for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Jason Strudwick, turning it down.
Yeah, Chris Pronger. I'd say I humbly say no, but Chris Pronger would be. I think he's the guy. I don't know if he's even on the radar, but he's not afraid of any comment. He'll do what he thinks, much like Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that for the next 10 years. Sign me up today. I'm a Leafs fan and an outsider.
All right. Well, there you go, Struddy. I mean, Keith Palley's probably watching right now. Very disappointed, Struddy. He's scratching you off his list right now.
I can feel my phone's vibrating right now. He's pretty upset.
So disappointing.
Sorry, but
416.
I got things to do.
All right, Strud. You got a hockey camp to run.
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah,
all right,
tennis
buddy.
Monday mornings to take a beating from my friends. So, yeah, I got things to do.
Okay. I'm glad we clarified that. Thanks, Struddy. We'll chat again soon.
See you guys. All right, guys.
Jason Strudwick joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Red Tag Days are here with the all-electric Toyota BZ. Goes from 0 to 100 in 5.1 seconds and charges from 10 to 80% in just 30 minutes. Dropped by Maple Toyota today. Struddy is declining the offer to run the Leafs. How disappointing is that? But, Bouchard is an interesting case because his numbers have been great.
But we didn't mention some other guys. Like, I'm just thinking of, like, Mo Sider, Detroit.
Sider's been great.
What about Darlene? Does he get in there somewhere?
Absolutely.
It's hard.
Yep,
like, there's only 5 spots.
Yep, absolutely. Like, I think it's, and I'm not suggesting you're doing this or other people are doing it. It's lazy just to say Cale Makar, because like Makar, he does kill penalties. Like defensively, he's pretty sound, but he makes mistakes too.
Well,
we just saw it at the Olympic Games.
Yeah,
I know that doesn't apply to the NHL, but like Bouchard has 10 more points than he does, and a lot of it is, well, he's the most offensively explosive player, or he pushes play. I'm not suggesting Bouchard is better, and I'm not suggesting I would put him ahead of Makar on my list, but Werenski, I do think Darlene has to be considered. I think Sider's a really interesting one, too. Like, he plays a ton of minutes. And
Schaefer.
And Schaefer. Yeah. But has Schaefer been better? Like, I know because he's 18, it's incredibly compelling. But has he been better than Bouchard?
Doesn't he have 20 goals?
Yeah, Bouchard's got 19. So if Bouchard scores tomorrow night, does that mean that cancels it out?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's hard.
There's a lot of great players. Yeah, a lot of great players. All right, Mini Jerry's coming up. Best bets later in the hour. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on the TSN app.
Disney Plus, and Crave. Together starting at $15.75 a month.
Never just about the bunker. Friends become crazy.
You're not going to tell anyone about this, are you?
And so it begins.
The Disney Plus Crave bundle. Plan starting at $15.75 a month.
Friday on TSN 1050. Your Toronto Raptors hit the road to Denver to take on the Joker and the Nuggets.
Champs it down!
Coverage starts at 8:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Raptors live here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up a little bit later in the hour. WBC is officially over. Man, Aaron Judge taking a lot of heat. But until he wins, I think that is the trifecta of superstars with the most pressure on them to succeed and win. It's McDavid, Judge, Josh Allen. And I think Judge is ahead of the other ones because you've made a very valid point. Like, McDavid is chasing all-time great status. I don't believe Judge is doing that. Now, Steve Phillips would argue Judge is the greatest Yankee of all time or will eventually be. I don't agree with that. Like, you consider Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and DiMaggio and Mantle, and Judge is a better player than Jeter, but Jeter won all the time and personified winning. And as a captain of the Yankees and the aura and what he represents to that city and the fan base. But, you know, what Judge does at the plate is absolutely insane.
The numbers he had last year.
Crazy. They are McDavid-like, like the equivalent. I do think it's apples to apples. But McDavid has won a Conn Smythe in losing fashion. He's put up massive numbers.
I'd have to check.
He's clear-cut number one. You could argue Ohtani is maybe not clear-cut number one, but ahead of Judge or right there with Judge.
Yes.
But because he's a Yankee and because he's failed in the biggest moments, like so substantially, last night included, I just feel like he's of the greatest of the great athletes right now. He has a losing vibe to him that he needs to shed above Josh Allen and certainly above McDavid.
Would your perception of any of those guys be different if they never win?
Yes.
In like a substantial way?
No, but I just feel like this is one of those things you and I will never see eye to eye on. Like, we'll never see eye to eye on it. But sometimes it doesn't have to be that complex. It's pretty simple stuff. You have to win. Like, winning is ultimately the whole purpose of the sport.
Right.
And when you're considering it legacies, like if we're talking pure talent, then that's a separate conversation. But if you're bringing in, like, Tom Brady's not the greatest pure talent in NFL history, probably nowhere close. I'm not sure anyone would have him in the top 10 most talented quarterbacks ever.
Sure.
Wayne Gretzky was not the most talented player. It's just his IQ and his ability to get the job done was second to none. So if you're talking about legacies and greatness, you've got to be able to close your eyes and picture them winning. I think it has to happen. You have to win.
We'll never agree because it's a team
How
sport.
can winning not matter,
It's
though?
a team sport. Like,
I know that, but it's like if you have a 20-year career and you have big, like, yes, it's a team sport. Again, I always feel like I'm the one, like, kicking down McDavid. I'm not. He's the greatest player in the world. He's one of the greatest players I've ever seen play, and I'm rooting for him. I'm not saying that in a patronizing way. I want to see greatness succeed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care to see Judge win because I don't want the Yankees to win. McDavid, I want to see win. I am openly rooting for him to win. And obviously, as a Canadian, I was dying for him to win a few weeks ago. But he was on the ice in overtime. He was on the ice when it was tied in the third period. Yes, it's a team sport, but, like, you got to step up and have that moment.
Yeah.
You know, last night, Judge, he has you're there, you're in the dance, you got the opportunity.
You're right.
Like, you know, put the barrel on the ball. He didn't do it. He struck out 3 times. Like, I get it. It's a team sport. Maybe they still would have lost, but maybe he hits a big home run last night and they win.
I just put McDavid in a different category than those guys.
Why?
Because he's I mean, you could even say that with Josh Allen. Like the 13-second game, like he does everything.
Totally.
What is he supposed to do?
Yet the Denver game
was
should have been way better.
But they have no. But then you could be like, well, like who is he?
I get it's complex. I get it's complex. The reality though is, over time, the details of a game don't get remembered. What remembers is, did you win or did you lose?
Well, and
that's what happens over time.
I think if you ask McDavid or any of these guys, if your career ends and you don't win, it'd be a terrible disappointment.
And I think that's a more important that ultimately answers the question, and I think vindicates where I stand. Is I think they would look at it and say, I cannot accept that. Like there's no way. Like I would feel like I left something out there in my career if I don't win.
I mean, at this point, it's likelier than not that he doesn't win, right?
McDavid, Judge, Allen,
all of them.
Yeah, they're all, like, Judge is the oldest of the three.
Who do you think gets to the most finals of those guys?
Starting today?
Starting today. Like, I don't even know who I would
I guess
think.
I'd say Judge, because the Yankees are just, if he's a Yankee for the next 8 years, which, again, I don't know if he will be. What is he, 32, 33?
Yeah.
Say he's got another 5 or 6 years. But the Yankees are always competitive. They're generally always in the dance.
I mean, they haven't won since 2009, I think.
Yeah. But he's been in a World Series.
Sure.
Yeah, McDavid's been in 2. Allen,
like, it feels like that was the shot.
Allen, though, can control his destiny more than the other two guys. Like, in the vein of the conversation we're having right now.
Yeah.
Judge is going to get 4 or 5 at-bats in a big game, right? McDavid's going to play 22, 23 minutes, have the puck on his stick for 2 minutes maybe. Allen has the ball every single play. Like, the guy that can push it over the line based on his own doing is clearly Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. Like, I feel like Judge is he's just a Yankee and that's it. He's not leaving. McDavid will jump if he has to. Right? Like, I think
2 more years
over the next 10 years, he'll stay. I think he'd happily stay in Edmonton if he believes he can win every year. But if it gets to a point where he feels like he can't, I think he'll chase it somewhere else. So I guess I'd probably answer McDavid because I think there's more of a chance he's going to leave. Like Allen, I think will stay with the Bills. They'll just keep paying him. They'll build around him. They'll give him opportunities. Judge is going to be a Yankee. McDavid, I think, maybe takes it into his hands over the other two in terms of where he's going to play in the future.
What if he were to get like a Ray Bourque Cup?
It would not feel the same.
Yeah.
It will count. And Bourque was still really good. Like, he was still a prominent player on those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty clear he was chasing it at that point. Where that's the whole thing. Like, winning in your prime also means, I think, more. You know, like if you got to win when you're the man. If you win when you're, although that said, John Elway won 2 late. He wasn't the man anymore.
Manning won one of those late.
He won in 06, though. He was still in his prime.
Yeah.
Like when he first won, they beat the Bears, I think, in 06. He was Peyton Manning, prime Peyton, 28, 29 years old. All right, I got a couple of mini Jarrys here I'm going to throw at you.
Okay.
Let's just get crazy right out of the gate here. Mini Jarrys, place a percentage on this. One of Austin Matthews or William Nylander is not a Maple Leaf next year.
Ooh.
Just one.
Just one? 5%.
5%. That is surprisingly low. Yes,
I think that is low. I was like somewhere between 5 and 20.
I am going to be higher than that.
It's just going to depend on what Matthews wants to do. Like, I don't think.
How do you know it's not the team that might look at this and say, we just have to go in a different direction?
I just can't see it. It doesn't make sense. Tell me, like, explain to me that position. Like,
well, and I'm not advocating for this position, but a clean slate for the new guy is something that does happen. Like when companies are about to be sold, the CEO who's currently like about to sell it, they tell him, hey, can you just kind of get rid of a lot of people, clear the books for me so I'm not the bad guy when I arrive? Or they just want a clean slate so that they can put forth their vision. So it changes the expectation in the market as well. Like if a new person comes in and goes, I'm telling you this is going to take me 5 years, Are people going to accept that if Matthews and Nylander are still on the team?
They would get destroyed if it came out that they told him you're gone. And like that,
but they wouldn't do it in a like a vicious way.
No,
they would you just have to sell it to him like, hey, this is the direction we're going. I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening with him. I think Nylander could be a different story.
See, I don't think that at all. Why do you think that? I think they could go to him, but these guys have the whole cards.
No, I understand. It doesn't mean they'll waive. Yeah. I'm saying it's more likely whoever is in charge concludes we're moving off Nylander than we're moving off Matthews.
Sure. You
would disagree with that?
I just wouldn't do that.
I know. I'm not saying you wouldn't, but could you make it? If, let's say, Keith Pelly, Jonas Siegel's hired as the president of hockey operations, and Pelly comes to you, and this is a ridiculous hypothetical, but goes, one of those two guys has got to go. It's your choice. Who would you choose?
I mean, one of them is signed a lot longer than the other. One of them is better than the other. So I don't.
All right, you're not going to give me an answer.
I don't know.
The answer is Nylander of the two, because he's a winger, and he's just. I think I don't. I'm not sure that one of them is gone before next season. 35%. I'm still in the minority.
Yeah,
I think it's more likely they both come back. I think it's more likely they both want to stay.
Yes.
Too. I get it's ugly right now and all that, but this is what they know. I think they have pride in being Maple Leafs and they want to win here. And I think that has to be considered. If they want to win here, that's a good sign. Okay, now they got to go out and show it and prove it and play well. And
it just kind of feels like there's this idea that these guys are like 35.
No, they're 28.
They're not.
Yeah.
Like Nylander is going to be 30, but Matthew's going to be 29 in the fall. Like there's lots of.
They got a lot of game left.
Yes.
A lot of game left. But yeah, and to be clear, I think it's more likely if there were change, it would be coming from the player's perspective. Yes. Going to the team and saying, I think I need a fresh start. I'm not sure that will happen. But I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's a 0% chance that the team decides we've got to move off.
That's like Nico Harrison going to the Mavs and being like, you know what? This Luka Doncic.
That's not, though. It's not.
I know it's not the same. They went to the finals.
An NBA final. These guys have never been out of the second round.
Okay.
It's not, though. And Luka
right.
was like 23 or 24.
No, he's not that young. But yeah, I think he's 26 or 27.
Yeah, but he got dealt 2 years ago. Like when they traded him, he was like 24 years old. 25.
Something like that.
Still, I get it. I'm not saying Matthews and Nylander are like, but he was like particularly young in his career.
Can you believe we're having this conversation now? Like, imagine I told you last whatever that a year from now we're going to be talking about this. I would like, there's no way.
I would say you're crazy,
yeah.
But if I told you 10 years ago they're going to win 2 rounds,
yeah.
How crazy would it be?
You're right. With the best teams in franchise history,
they win twice, and they choke in the biggest games every single time.
Right.
You'd say, oh, well, obviously you got to move off those guys. Like you probably would 10 years ago say, well, 10 years is an eternity. You give them that long of a leash to prove they can't get it done, and you're going to keep going? You're going to go another decade? So which one's the right perspective?
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably the perspective I just laid out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. And it's not blaming these guys. It's not like it's your fault or what have you. That the right answer might be we just need to completely restart everything. And it's going to be incredibly tough and incredibly painful, but hopefully in 3 or 4 years, we're the Montreal Canadiens or we're the Anaheim Ducks.
I would not do that.
No, I understand you wouldn't, but what if it's the right answer? You still wouldn't do it?
How do we know if it's the right answer?
Well, we won't until you do it.
I just don't think they're set up.
Would you rather wake up in 5 years and say, man, they just kept poking and prodding and it did nothing, and look where they are now. Now these guys are 33 and 34. And
yeah, but at least at that point, maybe you've built up a system of something to come next. They don't have anything to come next.
That is why, again, it'd be very difficult to do it. But you're just buying time basically for that next wave anyway.
They have a trade deadline. They trade some forwards, and look at the people they called up. Like they're like a 24-year-old Jacob Cohen. Like fine, maybe he'll play.
They have no farm system.
Bogru's 26. He's not a prospect.
No.
And Michael Pizzetta is obviously not a prospect.
Yeah.
Like
they got Danford. They got Cowan. Who knows what those two are going to be throughout their careers. I understand. But that's again. I think that's making more of a case.
You could argue both sides with that.
I think this argument actually makes more of a case for the other one. It's like they're not good enough even with these guys. It's not going to happen. How are they turning this over? Like, could they be a playoff team next year? I think they can.
100%.
Yeah, I think there's a different coach, different vision. The goalies stay healthy and they play pretty well. Couple new defensemen. Player or two in free agency, they could 95 points and make the playoffs next year. Win a cup, I don't see that.
But you don't have to win a cup next year, right? Like to me, I would be looking at it with a longer scope.
Yeah.
Where if you can turn the team around somewhat next year, get back into the mix, then you can go to Matthews and be like, you can extend. We're moving in the right direction. You can believe in this.
But here's to finish your thought. Yeah. Although I don't think you were going to go here.
No, maybe.
Next trade deadline, we're not trading picks to help this team. Do you have the stones and the stomach to do that? Because if next year is not about winning, then you can't be like, well, we're going to make the playoffs, so we should trade a first rounder and go get that guy and be all in because Matthews is a year left on his deal.
It depends.
They can't coexist.
I think you can. It just depends on what the trade is. It always depends on what the trade is. Like if you're going to trade a first round pick, it depends. Like if you're trading a first round pick for a fourth line center, not great. Trade a first round pick and you get back someone who's like going to be with you and impactful for.
How often did they ever do that? In 10 years. When did they ever do that?
I mean, Jake Muzzin, they did that. That's exactly what they did with Muzzin.
Okay.
That's one example. But
one example. But
you're right. Lots of them were rentals. Ryan O'Reilly was a rental.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Carlo wasn't a rental.
Nick Foligno was a rental.
Rental. Didn't like that trade at the time.
Yeah. All right. Best Bets coming up. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
Memory of a Killer. All new Monday on CTV. Stream next day on Crave.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. So we got the March Madness coming up, right? March Madness right around the corner. I don't have a bracket finished yet. Are you a bracket guy, Jonas?
No, I used to do it, and then I just gave up.
Okay. So we got a couple of games tonight. I'm not going to play that, but the Raptors are in Chicago tonight. They're laying 7.5, which is a big, big number.
Chicago's bad. They beat bad teams.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to lay the points. I know it's a big number, but, Pirtle's been healthy. The Raps had some big wins recently. Getting past Detroit, big wins all of a sudden.
Gritty win.
Gritty win. I'm going to lay the points. Raptors in Chicago tonight. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Same game parlays around the sports world are available courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus. Physically located in Ontario. All right, Jonas. Well, we got a golf tournament tomorrow. We got baseball spring training. We got the Leafs. We got a lot going on.
We can talk about it tomorrow. It's fan day for the Leafs tomorrow.
Fan day. Perfect timing.
Tough timing for that one.
Perfect timing for fan day down at Scotiabank Arena. But you're going to be back in here tomorrow? Yeah, Kara's going to be here tomorrow. We're looking forward to that. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and up on YouTube Live on TSN's YouTube channel. We appreciate it. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.
Curling Championship begins March 27th on TSN.